Hey guys, so I'm at a hotel. I'm getting ready to leave where I've been for the past week. I've been in Honduras. I'm leaving in about 36 hours. But anyways, been in Honduras. Been in the way back hills, like some of the most remote places I've ever been in my whole life. And I'm no stranger to Latin America. I've traveled a lot here, even lived in Central America for a little while. And there's always something I've noticed about the dogs here that relates to how people in the United States tend to have their dogs. Because if you've been in Latin America, in most places, you've probably noticed that there's lots of dogs in the street. Rarely are they ever fixed, neutered, spayed. But we've got all these dogs on the street. And there's something else that you'll probably notice, I know I have, is that you almost never see dogs being aggressive towards each other. I mean, you'll see little spats here or there, but nothing compared to, if you were to go in the average American neighborhood and just have everybody open their doors and let the dogs roam on the streets, like that would be that'd be an interesting script for a movie. Like there would be so much aggression and dogs biting people, dogs biting kids, stuff like that. Dogs getting in, attacking other dogs and things like that. So, of course, dog problems exist here, and aggression problems exist, but not on a level that I would see in the United States if people were to have their dogs just on the street. And so I've often asked myself that question. So I've taken some time on this trip here to look and to think of things, and I've come up with a few things that I think can help you understand how dogs are raised here, which some things I think are better, some things I think are worse, but how dogs are raised here, which leads to what I have noticed is a lot less aggression. So I've got four things. I'm just checking out my notes here. So thing number one is in Latin America, people tend to treat their dogs like dogs. And on certain levels, that's not great. And when I say certain levels, we're talking, dogs can be throwaway items. They'll throw them in a river. When I say they, some people will throw them in a river and give it no thoughts. And I know that can happen in the United States too. But the culture around dogs is a little bit different at this point. And so what I mean is they don't treat them like tiny little fur babies. And I know that's a term that a lot of people like to use. But very rarely do you see somebody like cuddling with a dog and baby talking with a dog and putting all of their attention on a dog. And that dog is like the center of their universe. I mean, the people here love their dogs, but the dog doesn't form the center of the universe for them. And that's a big, important thing. Because when your dog is the center of your universe, in most cases, now we've got some service dogs and stuff like that, and we've got to do things different with them as a result, but when you've got a pet dog that's the center of your universe and you're constantly talking, constantly petting, constantly giving treats, constantly giving feedback, attention, and this dog is getting all of this feedback from you all the time when you're around it, him or her, it is very stressful for a dog. And so a lot of the problems that we see in our training company come from dogs getting way too much attention, way too much affection, way too much engagement. And it's not just a dog that's just another member of the house. It's this creature that somebody is constantly putting their attention on. And that creates so much stress. And stress tends to lead to antisocial behaviors, aggression being a big one of those. And so again, just the fact that people, they love the dog, but it's not like they always have to be interacting with the dog and having the dog interact with them and making sure that, the dog knows that it's loved every moment of every day. That's not how dogs are. That's not how, they learn the best. Second thing that I've noticed, dog owners here, and again, this is a good and a bad, dog owners here tend to be quick to correct. It's very common to see the old women, yelling at a dog or shooing a dog out of a kitchen or, swatting a dog with a chancla, with a sandal. And so yeah, they're quick to correct. Now, often that correction is just full of emotion and anger, and it's not like an appropriate type of correction, but the fact that they're quick to correct is so helpful. And I see a lot of our American dog owners so very slow to correct. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody holding a leash and the dog is like lunging and lunging and lunging, and the person just is kind of following them. Like there's no even thought to correct the dog or stop or anything. And so here in Latin American culture, the dog does something out of line, and they're quick to correct. Now, again, I think corrections need to be done right, but showing the dog very clearly, I don't like this behavior and it's not okay, is so valuable, and something that is often lost, and that's where we see more dog aggression in the United States. On the other side of that, dogs are often left to, and again, this is a good and bad thing, dogs are often left to figure out what's going to get them what they want and what's not going to get them what they want. I was up in some hills in this little just shack of a house, and there was like these 3 little farm dogs that were there, and they would come right up to people who were eating and sit pleasantly about 4 feet away. No one ever taught them that, but they realized, hey, if I come closer and jump on them, someone's quick to correct, so I'm not going to do that. If I get on their lap, they're going to correct, so I'm not going to do that. If I get too close, they're going to correct, so I'm not going to do that. And so they figured, if I just stand 4 feet away and stand politely, there's a good chance that some food might drop. And so dogs very quickly learn how to survive, by getting positive reinforcement for the things that work really well. And this, unfortunately, is another thing that happens in the United States often, is that people aren't giving the feedback. Now, for these dogs up in the hills that I'm talking about, it was survival. These were skinny dogs. My guess is that they've got a high, dogs die at a high rate up there. But anyways, the feedback was instant and clear for these dogs. Here's how you get what you want. Because people were very clear with their boundaries, and dogs would get rewarded as such. If you don't, I haven't had a single dog jump on me. And I've been around like 40 dogs, 50 dogs in the past week. Not one has jumped on me because the boundary is set and because it doesn't work, and they get positive feedback if they don't jump. I haven't had dogs like full on begging, like jumping in my lap, even though I haven't eaten at a table for a week. I've just eaten like sitting on the ground or sitting on a tiny stool out in a farmhouse area. And I haven't had a single dog like get in my space and try to take the food, because they know how to get what they want, because the owners are clear. They're not trying to do this. They're just, this is just what comes natural. All right. So those are 3 things. And here's number 4. This is a big one. Socialization is done on their terms, on the dog's terms. So what do I mean by that? Socialization for dogs in the United States is more often than not, done on terms that are not set by the dog. For example, they take the dog to a dog park. And this is what confused me for a while, but I've thought about this, and here's where I find the difference. Because at our company, we deal with so much dog aggression from dogs that go to dog parks. And if you've watched any of my videos or something, so many people come to me like, I know you hate dog parks, and I do. I hate dog parks. They are the worst place you could ever take a dog. They do not do a good job for, helping dogs fit in really well. And they create a lot of aggression and anxiety and bad play habits and stuff like that. So I hate dog parks. And so my thought was, well, if dog parks do that, then why do dogs on the street, how are they able to learn how to not be aggressive when it's the same thing? And I realized it's not the same thing. At a dog park, the dog is forced to socialize. He has no choice. The owners take him in. It's a fenced-in area. Dogs come running right up to him. He has no choice. Whereas on the streets, the dog has the choice to get out of there if he doesn't feel comfortable. He has the chance to fight, but fight doesn't generally get the dogs very far because it's an antisocial behavior, and the dogs are social creatures, and so it doesn't get them very far. And so like I say, the socialization is done based on the dog's. The dog is the one setting the terms. He decides if he wants to greet the other dog or not. I see this from people and children too. Children are taught, I've seen a bunch of kids, like they'll go around dogs and their mom is like, no, get away, that dog's gonna bite you. And so kids are taught to be somewhat hands-off, and therefore adults are somewhat hands-off with new dogs. And this is so critical. Like so many people, if you've ever got a puppy, the whole world in the United States wants to come up and put its hands on it. That's not good for the puppy. Greeting should be done with the dog deciding how that greeting is done. And so anyways, on the streets, in the culture, these dogs decide hey, I want to be around this kid or I don't. I want to be around these dogs or I don't. And they decide, and therefore their socialization is done on their terms. Rarely does that happen in the United States. In the United States, dogs are taken to dog parks, bad. Dogs are forced to greet other dogs or people, bad. Dogs are beset upon by children, bad. Like all these things where the dog is the one receiving all of this greeting, whether or not he or she wants it, creates big problems. So those are the 4 big things that I've seen that are different. I'm not saying put your dog out on the street, but I'm saying there's in each one of those things that I've shared, there's things that we can take here in the United States and adjust for how our lives are, of dogs living indoors and stuff like that, and use that for how to help our dogs not have such aggression and anxiety issues. Hope that helped you.